Back, you're watching Network Africa. I am Adeshawa Josh. You can watch the program on youtube.com/channelsweb. And for our viewers outside West Africa, you can watch us live on m.channelstv.com from your laptop or mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. There's been a low turnout of voters in the ongoing Egypt's parliamentary elections, with about 15 to 16% of the electorate turning up at the polls. Although Egyptian Prime Minister Sharif Ismail is optimistic that that number will rise as public sector workers get some hours of work to cast their votes. Now, voters, however, appeared to be shunning the ballot box for a second day on Monday in what one newspaper called an election without voters, highlighting growing disillusionment since the army seized power in 2013 and promised to restore democracy. Sunday and Monday's voting levels were extremely low, in a sharp contrast to the long lines of the 2011-2012 election. Younger Egyptians, who comprise the majority of the population, are reportedly staying away, with many people dismissing it as a sham. VOA's Edward Iranian joins us now from Cairo, Egypt, with the latest. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa. This is quite a surprisingly low turnout. Give us the latest on the elections.
Well, the elections are continuing. Today is the second day of the first round. Another round will be held, I believe, next month, and the results are due to be announced in December. I would say that it's understandable, the numbers, because young people, first of all, they have really not a lot to look forward to, the same problems they were facing before the revolution. Also, two major parties are boycotting the election, that is to say the Nasserites, the leftists who are pretty much under the banner of former President Gamal Abdel Nasser, who are leftist, socialists, whatever. And then the Muslim Brotherhood, which has boycotted every election since the ouster of former President Mohamed Morsi. So that makes up about 60% of the vote. If 60% of the population are not voting, you'd get a turnout of about 30%, which is 15% the first day and 30% and 15% the second day, which is today. Not to justify the turnout. I mean, I think Egypt faces the same problems it's always faced, but I mean, what strikes me is certain media organizations are trying to say that this reflects some sort of a criticism of the government any more than people criticize the government normally. I don't think so. I mean, if you look at the situation in all of Egypt's neighboring countries, it's considerably worse. I think most people are pleased that we haven't descended into the chaos that has prevailed in Libya, in Yemen, in Egypt, in Syria, and in Iraq.
So wait a minute, if you're saying, Edward, that the reason for this low turnout isn't because the electorate is critical of the government, so what is the reason for this low turnout? It's absolutely low morale. It looks like people aren't even looking forward to these elections.
Yes, well, I mean, young people are disillusioned. That is the truth.
What is the reason for their disillusionment? What do you think the reason is?
Well, they had high expectations after the revolution against former President Mubarak.
So you don't think that's tied to the way the government is run as we speak?
Sorry?
So you don't think that has anything to do with the government? If they have high expectations and it's not what they're getting?
I think that has to do with Egypt's eternal problems of overpopulation, a bad economy, limited work opportunities, and those would be the same under any president. I don't think that has anything to do with whatever government is governing now. I mean, I think certainly some of them are disillusioned with the government because they belong to the Muslim Brotherhood and they don't like Mr. Sisi, but I don't think that's the majority, and I think that would be facing any government, no matter which government was governing.
That's right. So, again, I'll ask you, what is the general disposition of the people of Egypt to their government right now as we speak?
I would say that the majority of the people still support the government. If you take out the Muslim Brotherhood, if you take out the young people, you still have the older folks and many workers and government employees who support the government.
But Edward, that appears to be the minority in Egypt. The largest population, I mean, the young ones still make up to about 70% of Egypt's population. And if the same people are not coming out to vote, or they don't support, in quote, their government, you still think that the general disposition is that they have, the people of Egypt have the support of their government, or they support their government? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I would say at least 50% of the population still support the government. Yes, I would say that, definitely.
Okay, so moving forward now, with this low turnout of electorate, I mean, voting is so low. What's the way forward?
I think Egypt faces the same internal problems that I quoted earlier. I think that they're going to have to create more jobs, which is very difficult when you have international partners who are deliberately boycotting the country and boycotting the economy. They're going to have to put down the Islamic militant uprising in the Sinai, and they're going to have to control the situation coming from Libya, because foreign investors are not going to want to invest in a country that's beset by an Islamic insurgency. I think they're going to have to ultimately get the Muslim Brotherhood to participate in the electoral process. It's the Muslim Brotherhood which decided not to participate from the very outset. So I think a lot of the premises behind this problem are not fairly posed.
So where do we go from here now? How important, let me ask you, is this parliamentary elections? Because then that could mean something even more dire for the future of Egypt.
Well, I suspect not, because dire means revolution on the scale of Yemen, revolution on the scale of Syria, and on the scale of Iraq. I mean, I don't think Egypt is facing anywhere near those sorts of problems. But if you want to make it look like there's a problem, yes, I think people are disillusioned. And you can understand it perfectly, because people, especially the young, had high hopes back in 2011 when former President Mubarak was toppled. That being said, many of those hopes were unrealistic.
Mm-hmm. All right, then. Well, let's leave it right there, Edward Geranian, VOA's correspondent, there for us, speaking to us from Cairo, Egypt.
My pleasure.
Let's take another short break on Network Africa, and when we come back, asylum seekers' rape claims overshadow Australia's bid for UN rights body